Hello. It's interesting watching you both do your pre-roll stuff into stream. And one is like doing this, and the other one is just, doing that. Now we wait for Shiloh.
Shiloh.
Here, I'll get you guys in on what's currently happening. Black pink in your area.
Well, I mean,
That was your shut up, Johnny.
it was more Lil Nas X.
I think I had my mic muted on OBS, by the way, for that first minute.
Oh no!
I had to
I
change things over
hate
because
free.
the audio was being weird.
Hello, everybody. Hello, my chat.
But yeah, in case anyone didn't hear, shilOMG right here with an NFC edition of the 2023 NFL season, joined by marfman1o1. It's ItsJohnnyRose. And shilOMG.
That's me.
Hey,
Look,
before we got into things, by the way, I just saw the breaking news that Jonathan Taylor is allowed to seek a trade.
Oh.
You know
for him.
the running back market is busted. They're just letting him walk peanuts, basically.
Yeah.
It's not hard to replace running backs. You have to understand this. It's the biggest thing.
So many good ones just keep on churning out, even in like the 5th or 6th round of the draft, or even undrafted sometimes.
That's why I hate our draft pick this year just a little bit.
Yeah. I guess we can get into that not too long from now. As for today, we're actually going to be changing up the order a bit. This time we're going to be starting east, moving our way to the west, the north, and then the south. Sorry, no, that's the wrong way. That's the.
I was about to say, I remember the DM completely different.
Got it.
We're starting from the south, then going to the west, then the north, and then ending on the east. Oh,
yeah, we're gonna end with the something, all right?
Yeah, we're starting on the stinker and ending on a more fun division.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anything else anyone would like to bring in real quick before we go ahead and jump into this? 6 minutes for each team still, by the way.
Honestly, not much has happened. I know we're rolling into preseason, and it's a good thing there hasn't been any major injuries. I'll be honest, that makes me happy. I hate when there's big stories that hit of like someone getting hurt in practice, but so far we're clean through most of it, which is very nice to see.
Yeah, true.
There's still like what, 2 weeks to go? So let's see.
Yeah, let's hope for plenty of good news. But if there's nothing else to go on about, so let's go ahead and start over. Down with some birds trying to fly.
Oh.
You know it as the city of Childish Gambino's show fame, and maybe some other stuff. Let's go to Atlanta for the Falcons.
Oh, Nate, I may need to spend 5.5 minutes teaching the history of Atlanta, and then the last 30 seconds shitting on my own team. But as a fan right now, I could say we're reaching for high hopes. It's the biggest thing. As someone who observes the team year in and year out, we peaked. We're the biggest meme in football, probably by a long shot. And we consistently draft players that at the cusp of developing, but then we don't get a quarterback. If we go out and get Marcus Mariota, who was a bad quarterback, we pursued someone who we shouldn't have, which forced our Hall of Fame quarterback out of Atlanta. We drafted a running back in the first round. I still think that's an idiotic move. I think he would have been there in the second or third round. Running backs are a dime a dozen nowadays. It's easy to replicate 1,000 yards if you have a good offensive line, which we did last year. But this is an organization where I think the puzzle pieces will never truly fit, and I think we're always going to be a subpar 500 team. I think we'll have chances of being in the playoffs in the near future, but the best I see this year is 6 wins because coaching has been bad, offense is inconsistent, and if there comes a day where the offseason signing of a defensive safety or veterans on the defensive line, yes, that stuff matters, but I do believe at the end of the day, this is going to be a sub 500 team in a division of sub 500 team play. I think we're going to finish third in this division. I think we're going to try and get a quarterback in the draft, but I think we're going to win too many games, and we're going to stick with probably Marvin Harrison Jr. Why not another offensive weapon we can't utilize to their full effectiveness?
Yeah.
Yeah, like bringing up the Wolves with the quarterback. What comes out of like 47 eligible quarterbacks, Mariota and Ritter ranked respectively 45th and 46th in accuracy. It
Oh, boy.
wasn't great, but still, the receivers were still catching often enough. Just because everyone's just a big body with a huge catch radius, they could just break in. If Ritter's even an adequate quarterback, this is a much better team, but you need to see that happen.
I'm sure Kyle Pitts would catch a lot more if they would actually throw it to him.
It is interesting that you mentioned this because coaching the last few years is just like, this isn't fantasy football. We're playing these games to win. I was just like, you drafted him in the first round, and you think it's fantasy people who just want to see him succeed, not us?
Yeah.
Someone else say something. I'm just gonna start yelling about
Alright,
this team.
Oh, I will say, like, on a positive side of that offense, they had the third best early down success rate in the league. Like, they were able to go ahead and convert, like I said, for AFC, when it's brought up, they converted first and second downs into either a new set of downs or a touchdown at one of the highest rates, pretty much.
Yeah.
And, like, they have the second easiest schedule in the league. The easiest is another team in this division, but that's also just partially because this whole division isn't great.
I was about to say 6 of those games are against teams within the division, so it's like,
It was also just nice for the defense to actually add people who you know, instead of just be people they brought up off the streets.
mm-hmm.
Marfman Shiloh.
The only thing I can think of is because I don't remember if they added any wide receivers or not. It's just you also lost your wide receiver 2 in the offseason to the Eagles in Olamide Zacchaeus.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're not replacing him, I mean, I don't really know because then that's just gonna leave like London by himself along with.
I think it's what it is currently is it's going to be Drake London, Kyle Pitts, or BJ Robinson, and then whoever's filling the holes at that point. But it's a three-headed monster that could develop into something scary, but you need a quarterback to do that. I don't trust Ritter at all.
I really want Kyle Pitts to be good.
I do too.
Don't we all?
His potential is there. It's not happening.
Listen, it could take a few years for a tie then. Maybe his breakout season could be any time around the corner or something.
But that's the thing is, it's not him. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, just not getting the ball.
Yeah. And then he had flashes of being really great last year and he got hurt was the biggest thing. Like his rookie season, he had 1,000 yards and not a single touchdown, which is like, oof. Does hurt for fantasy owners though. At the same time,
Right.
Who would have him in fantasy? I don't know about that.
I draft him every year at this point.
He's in one of my dynasty teams.
Oh, going through my notes, there was something else I wanted to bring up. This also goes on to the sad things. They have the 4th worst rest disadvantage in the league with minus 12 days, and are the only team with no instance of rest advantage over another.
Wow.
So they're always going to be more tired than everyone else.
Run us into the ground. Who cares?
Don't run Bijan into the ground. I love Bijan. It's my boy.
All right, that'll be it for Atlanta. Now it's time to go marching on down to the good old Bayou, as we go ahead and take on the New Orleans Saints. Take it away, me. The more things change, the more they stay the same. That just feels so fitting for the New Orleans Saints, a team that is working with another veteran quarterback jettisoned from their old team and having made some roster turnover due to cap issues. This team's salary expert must be paid very well to make it so the Bayou squad can dance with the cap so much. But That's not to say the team never misses the players that have to leave to make this magic happen. With all the roster changes and them still breaking in their newish head coach Dennis Allen, the Saints look prime and ready to maintain control of the division. The Saints are expected to face by far the easiest schedule in the league. The difference in difficulty between them and the second easiest schedule, which belongs to the Falcons, is a difference as great as between the 5th easiest and 10th easiest schedules. This is a team expected to face the second easiest schedule of defense and the second easiest schedule of offenses. You can imagine how much this is brought by being in a weak division. The New Orleans Saints have watched players like Marcus Davenport, Andy Dalton, Jarvis Landry, Mark Ingram, and Adam Troutman leaving the offseason, which make of that what you will. But they've also added Foster Moreau, Jesse James, Jamal Williams, Brian Brissy from the first round, and Derek Carr to their building as well. Tight end Juwan Johnson has been showing he's ready to take the next step, and the rest of the pass-catching group will be wonderfully propped up by sophomore Chris Olave, and whatever the Saints can get out of Michael Thomas at this point in his career. This may be one of the better skill position groups Carr has been able to work with, and maybe we see a refreshed version of him as opposed to what's happened with mismanagement in the desert. The defense is not one to wow on paper, but between Honey Badger and a good defensive coach, a pretty solid roster as a whole, this should probably be one of the better ones in their division and be able to help prop them up enough to get some more wins. It is unclear, though, how well the offensive line will actually be able to perform compared to how it looks on paper, seeing as they rank 26th in pass blocking and run blocking grades. And with the offense, we know Kamara will be suspended for a few games as well. And back to Michael Thomas, he's only been able to play for 10 games in the last 3 seasons. And you don't know what you can get out of Marshawn Lattimore either at this point. Defensive line was retooled, but last season was dead last in pass rush win rate and 25th in run block rate. It was a paper towel people could just tear through. The defense was propped up by a weak schedule last season and is likely to do the same. There are optimistic things to look at with the New Orleans Saints, but it's also to see where things fall apart on them. This is a team with a win total of 9.5, when in Week 14 last year they were sitting at 4-9, which matched or exceeded only the Texans, Bears, Broncos, Colts, Rams, and Cardinals. Somehow, the Saints are the only one of them expected to have a winning record. Let's not forget how the team's final 3 wins were against Desmond Ritter's first start, a rusty Deshaun Watson in a snowstorm, and an Eagles team resting their starters. This is a team that has a chance to win the division, and then get trounced in the wild card. Thoughts from everyone else?
The first thing I want to point out is very more serious than like the actual sport. 3 games is ridiculous. It should have been the entire season at minimum. That's it. Fuck Mara for that. But I feel if we go back to the football field though, I feel like this is gonna be the year where we see that. I feel like what most people know is that Carr was never the problem in Vegas. Not to mention they actually have a quarterback now at New Orleans that they haven't had. I love you, Jameis. I'm sorry, but no. But yeah, the first quarterback they've had since Breeze left.
You don't like eating W's? What do you mean?
I do love eating W's. I love that. Man.
Eating that W's
not good. But yeah, as long as they're scheduled easily double-digit wins, and they're not going to do much probably in the playoffs, but you know, they'll have a really good record. Is that?
Probably like 9-8 or maybe 10-7 because of the schedule.
I think just because of the schedule, they get probably like 12-13. That they'll be like the Vikings last year where they don't really deserve that record, but it'll be a very good record.
I don't know. I see them borderline wild card.
I can't see anyone in that division beating them out because I don't trust the Bucks enough.
Yeah, I didn't get. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I didn't get to say this for the last one. I actually drink a bit of the Atlanta Kool-Aid and think that they're the only team in this division that can compete with the Saints.
Really?
Yeah, Atlanta is one of my potential frisky teams to look out for.
Okay.
Just like the Lions were last season.
I still think the Bucks have the division.
I don't. I love them so much, but I don't think they could do it. And I don't feel like Carolina's quite there yet. Maybe next year, though. Maybe next year.
How does everyone feel about the football Hokage's new stuff, though?
Oh, I'm a big fan. I hope he has a good season. But also,
I'm-
fuck the Saints.
I'm blanking on who that is.
Jamal Williams.
Oh, right. Yeah, he'll be a good spot there.
Yeah, I've always liked him as a player.
Yeah, he seemed pretty cool, especially in this time in Detroit last season. Hope that, especially with Kamara's timeout, he gets even more time to shine.
Hmm
We still got a little less than a minute left if there's anything else. Maybe just about New Orleans. I don't know. I've never gone to Mardi Gras. It seems too hectic for me.
I'll say this, and I have to agree with Shiloh though. Derek Carr, I've never saw him as the problem. He would have down years, but it would also be the team itself was mismanaged, miscoached, and just like didn't build around him. And they finally give him Devontae. That season's really bad, and then I'm still blaming the coaching over that. And like they get rid of him. I think he's gonna do well. I don't know. It's the biggest thing. It's like I want him to do well, but I don't think he'll do well.
Alright, now that's time with our trip down there. Now let's go ahead and move a bit eastward as we go ahead and find ourselves faced with the big cats in blue. It's time for the Carolina Panthers. Let's go ahead and hear from Mark now.
The Panthers are going to be tested early, and they have to figure out if they have what it takes. Their first game is against the Falcons, division rival. That's going to be a big game for them. They have a fresh quarterback. Yes, it's like a very, very good college quarterback, but you never know how that translates. And they're going all in on him. He is their QB1. It's who they're playing. They have good players around them as well. I mean, let's see what we're looking at here. Running backs. We got Chuba Hubbard, of course, and then now they have Miles Sanders as well. Like that's pretty impressive. That's a little daunting as a defensive line to have to go up against those two. Wide receiver core. Who do they got? They don't really have much of a wide receiver core. They have Adam Thielen, who I feel like he should have just retired at this point.
He's not a number one at all.
No.
They're hoping Jonathan Mingo, their rookie, becomes number one.
Right. And I mean,
Chark.
yeah, they have Chark. That's why I said they're really going to be tested early. I don't know how all of these players are going to mix together. A bunch of people new to the team. It's really just going to see how they can all play together. If they could all rally around this new young star, hopefully for them, of a quarterback. And if they can get it done. Their schedule is, it's not terrible. They definitely have some wins on the board. I just don't know how many. A projection I was looking at showed them at 9-8, and I think that is very generous. I don't have faith that the team's going to be able to come together. It would make, like, if they do, cool, but I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening. I see them as like a 6-7 win team.
Fair enough.
I definitely feel like from where you were projecting and the projection you saw is probably the range they're gonna fall in anyway. I feel like they'll probably get above 500, but they're gonna be a very like middle of the road team because they're still trying to figure out everything. With one Bryce Young leading the team now, all the changes they've made on offense and defense. But very soon they could be a very tough team to beat.
Oh yeah. Like, by all means, the only reason I don't think this as high about this team this season as I normally would is just because it's a rookie quarterback. Otherwise, I mean, this is the team I feel like is going to win next season.
Same, honestly.
I'm happy to change my mind after the season, but I don't see that pathway for them right now, based on their personnel.
No.
That's
I will say this, and this is a big thing. I see them a lot like the Seahawks when they built around that defense and then got the diamond in the rough that was Russell Wilson at the time. And they became a very dynamic team, a very good team that won that division. And this is what I've seen the early stages of. But as of right now, that defense is going to have to carry the load a lot because I think the backfield's going to be okay. I think receiving core needs a little bit of work. Again, Adam Thielen's not a number one. He's never been a number one. He's always been that number two that gets number one numbers because you have Jefferson, you've had Diggs that are the primaries that pull. It's a team I want to see win because as of right now, I don't see us winning the division at all. So might as well see a team that I've actually kind of liked through most of my life win this division more than the Bucks or the Saints.
I think it's also going to come down to their O-line protecting a rookie quarterback who's not used to NFL linebackers. Like
Those preseason, just watching him get absolutely destroyed in the second because no one's able to block. Like, I mean, like, the schedule is actually overall like the fourth easiest expected one in the league. Now, the start of things, the first 6 weeks before their bye is the 10th toughest. But after that, it becomes the second easiest, and there won't be a game with a rest disadvantage. And this schedule pass defenses that they're going to be facing is like one of the top 5 easiest. So while Reich's going to I love the coach, great coach. They're not going to win the first 2 or 3 games because that's just how it works with them. But then after things get broken in, they'll be a spicy team at the end of things to make things look cool for next season.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's looking to next season for them and hoping they can stay healthy this year together.
Yeah. And if anything, fall to a good draft spot, pick a player that you could desperately use, and then elevate it to that point next year.
It's gonna be interesting what happens with their DC too, because there's a good chance Andrew Evero becomes the head coach next season. That dude was great at his last stop, and I can expect him to be really good with this defense in Carolina too.
Yeah. I could see him stick around next year because, again, like, this defense is going to do a lot of work this year. But if they're able to put up good numbers, he could be gone by the end of the season, and then you're going to have to deal with a lot of new coaches coming in and learning the defense again. But we'll see. It's the biggest thing.
Very untested.
That's our time here in Carolina. Now we're going to go to... we're going to just go to Florida. Let's just get Florida man ready. Let's just do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now. Marv, take it away.
No, thank
Shiloh,
you.
take it away.
Yes, we just want Marv. Oh boy, I love this team. They're my second favorite team in the league. Brady being there made it a little less fun to watch. But oh boy, am I not very confident in this team this year. A lot of the schedule, I'm just looking at it now, it looks so rough for so long. That's what you get when you win the division, I guess. You got Baker Mayfield, who's leading the team as it stands anyway. Though I think he's going to be on a very short leash because in preseason, Trask has looked okay. I think he still needs a little more time. Wolford has looked good. It's another year where they don't really have a great running game. Cause like Chase Edmonds is the number one, if I recall. I can't remember. I know they lost Rojo to the Cowboys. And I don't remember anyone else after that. They've still got, in my opinion, the most underrated number 1 wide receiver in the league with Mike Evans, who I love to death. They've got Chris Godwin, as long as he can stay healthy. He hasn't been injured too much, but he did have a very serious injury recently, so hopefully he's back to snuff. Cameron Braid at tight end, I think. Then you go over to defense, where that front seven's nice. It's been nice. The secondary, while they have good pieces, it's just they played so up and down the past few years. It basically just hinges on, can Baker get it done, or if not, can Wolford or Trask get it done? This is where a lot of my doubt comes in. On top of the fact that they have no running game, so it's going to be a very rough year, I think, for the Bucs.
We we have someone who's a lot higher on them than I think everyone else here. Mark, what do you have to say?
Well, I mean, I'm not that much. I do think they can win the division. I think they can do it. Obviously, the Saints are a lot of competition for that, and the Panthers are untested, and the Falcons are kind of just there. But yeah, the Bucks. I don't know what it is. I just think having Brady come in and kind of help them iron some things out. And I think even though they don't have Brady anymore, I think they're still gonna have that structure. And I don't know what it is. I can't really point to anything objectively. It's just that's the vibe I'm getting from the team as I've seen so far.
I think it's honestly one of those things where it's like they have the pieces. It's still there. They could still just be a 500 team. But the biggest question marks is, again, Baker Mayfield leading this team or Trask leading this team. And, like, again, running back last year, great. Receiving core can be really good. Defense, but you shouldn't have to go into a season not knowing who your number one is unless you drafted someone who was very high and then you had a veteran quarterback. But I think it's Baker's job to lose, but I don't think it's a job that he'll keep if he plays poorly. Because I just think it's going to be a back and forth, whoever has the hot hand. Because if neither of them have the hot hand and they lose a bunch of games, they're just going to be like, screw it. We're just going to tank. We'll go next season, draft an actual quarterback, and roll the dice going forward. And then sell off the assets you have, and we'll see you in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
My biggest concern for this team, beyond the whole going from Tom Brady to Baker or Trask thing, is I do not trust this coaching unit at all. This is one of the worst coaches in the league right now with Todd Bowles. Holy hell, I thought it was just Jets' ineptitude that made him bad when he was in New York. He's just incompetent himself.
Yeah, sure is.
Tom Brady could still throw. You had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I don't know, Gronk wasn't last season, but still, there were people to throw to. Why the fuck were they running the ball so much when they were so bad at it?
You're preaching to the choir.
Top
But yeah,
just thinks he's typical defensive-minded coach mindset, where it's like, oh, all you need to do is run 100 times and your defense will save the day for you. That's how the game's played, right? No. How are you this out of touch?
But yeah, it's like, again, I'm relooking at the schedule, and it's just I can maybe like a little bit over one hand, but I can count probably on one hand how many games they win, and like half, if not a little bit more than that, is going to be divisional games.
Yeah, they're the only team in the division without a top 10 easiest schedule. They're 17th easiest.
I'm surprised it's that high.
Oh, 15th
Looking at it.
is difficult, you can also say.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what you get for finishing first last season.
Yep.
Now...
Oh, it's just like you got the Bills kind of close to the middle of the season. You got the Eagles very on. You got the Vikings, Bears to start off. It's just it looks rough for the Bucs this year so much.
Speaking of things looking rough for a team, let's go to probably the roughest looking unit. Mark, do you want to talk about Arizona Cardinals?
You mean the Kyler Murrays? Is that it? That's all they are this year, pretty much.
Though he's not playing.
And not first week at least. We'll see how long it takes him to get healthy. But hey, they have Matt Prater, right?
You can get 3 points,
Yeah, get some field goals in there. Maybe tie a game. This is just. It just feels like the team of misfits. I don't know how they have like no players. It's insane to me how little they really have on their staff. like I scrolled for a while this morning looking at the teams. I was like, it took me a long time to like recognize a couple names. I was like, oh no. I noticed their backup quarterback like before some of their like starters. I was like, oh god. James Conner I've always liked, but he's never hit stardom. He's never done more than really slightly above average numbers.
Yeah.
They have Tyson Williams. That's not bad. I can see that working out for them. Hey, Zach Ertz, like, I don't know why he downgraded and came here. I mean, I guess it wasn't fully his choice, but. And then wide receivers, Marquise Brown. I love Marquise Brown. He's one of my fantasy like do or dies. And they have Greg Dortch, and I like him as well. But you can't make a team of like 6 players on offense. You need more tools, more weapons to work with. And I was looking at their running backs. They only have 5 healthy running backs right now, and I don't think that's enough to surprise any teams or do anything against any other teams. They're gonna know what's coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, 2 wins. I'll give them that.
I won't even
That
get.
sounds
I
about
don't.
the same.
I'll say this, and this is the going back a bit. It's interesting. This is the team I believe that DeAndre Hopkins was traded to, right, from Houston.
Yeah.
People looked at that as like, oh, this is such a one-sided trade. D-Hop's going to do great things in Arizona. He's gone. That trade is going to be a wash no matter how you look at it. It was not a one-sided trade. It was just whatever. I'm sorry, fans of DeAndre Hopkins. He's a good receiver, but he was never a difference maker on this team because the quarterback was not intelligent with a lot of the plays they made when they made the playoffs. Now he's hurt. This team doesn't have the pieces to put a winning season together, and they recently signed that set quarterback to a contract extension that probably not going to pan out. I don't see him in the desert for long. I see them taking what they have, which isn't a lot. That's one of the biggest things, like Mark alluded to. There's not a lot there to trade. Maybe James Conner gets traded to a contender that needs a running back. Maybe Zach Ertz, same thing. But there's not a lot there. And I think in this division as well, that has the Rams, the Seahawks. This is that division, right? The 49ers. Right?
49ers are here, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Sure.
In this division specifically, blow it up. Just blow it up and rebuild. Because
Start planning your draft pick now.
Start playing a draft pick now. The Seahawks
Both
are
of
kind
them.
of on the rise. The 49ers are probably the best team in this division because of the defense and somehow the quarterback play, and the Rams are on that steep decline as well. So try and do worse than the Rams.
Yeah, like, this is a team that's obviously rebuilding. It's just, I mean, they have, and when I wrote my notes, they had like about $46 million in cap space. They're going to be getting 2 top 10 picks in the draft because of Houston's terrible trade that's with Arizona, where they essentially gave up what you would give for a Hall of Famer. Yeah, I mean, the big question is what happens to Kyler Murray? I don't know if they're ever actually going to play him this season just because he might accidentally get them a win or 2. But yeah, I mean,
Because the ACL whole thing was like a full season, right? Potentially, because it happened like week 12.
like half a season, if not the whole season.
I think they're gonna roll the dice. Like let's say this is a big hypothetical. They get like 4 or 5 wins at mid-season. They might be like, maybe we'll start Kyler. But I think if they don't have a win at that point or a win, they're just gonna shut him down.
Yeah. Oh, and see what they can get for him in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say when it comes to like an idea what this offense looks like, being around Cleveland so much, and I know about who I've heard of their new offensive coordinator Drew Petzing, who was the Browns quarterback coach. So expect tight ends to be the best part, the favorite part of this team. A lot of 12 personnel.
I mean, looking at what they have for receiving, I wouldn't be surprised if Ertz was the best receiver on that team anyway. But first thing, respect my boy Keontae Ingram. Or I think he was like Bijan's backup when he was playing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was Bijan's backup.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to even see Kyler getting them one win. It's so hard. His team looks so bad. Like there's pieces that they shouldn't be as bad as they probably are going to be, but there's nothing there. Like it's been said multiple times. Oh boy.
Paper mache team.
Yeah.
And even if he is healthy enough to play at some point, Call of Duty is probably going to be a little more important for Kyle Murray.
Mhm.
Those
Like,
double XP
alright.
weekends hit differently.
That's what I was saying. Get out of the way while you're injured.
Yeah.
And that's enough of our time back in the is it the Mojave Deserts, Arizona, and I forget. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead to the place that's being cursed by Mother Nature right now. Hello to the LA Rams. Johnny.
I like the Rams finally win a Super Bowl. I like that Matthew Stafford finally got his ring. I think he finally got the recognition he deserved for being a good quarterback, for dealing with the Lions for so long. He's probably going to go down as probably the second best Lions player of all time. Third, maybe, depending on how you want to rate Barry Sanders, Megatron, whatever.
Yeah.
This team spends so much money to get one Super Bowl. It is ridiculous. I think, and also, did they just trade draft picks? Like, I know you get new draft picks each year, but the fact that you trade so far ahead, you don't care about your future. It feels like this team is at home in LA. Fuck the future. The time is now, but that time has come, and now you're going to be a sub 500 team with Aaron Donald, who's probably going to retire soon. Your head coach, who's probably going to retire soon. Your starting quarterback is going to retire soon. And also, you drafted Stetson Bennett, who is older than most players who are in the league, a la Sony Michel, who played in 2 Super Bowls, retired, and you were teammates at the same college. This organization is going to be in a quick decline, and you're going to have to somehow outplay the Cardinals in terms of being bad. But I don't think you will, because you're going to have pride in your team, and I think you just finish at 500. And I'll also say this, I'll throw a tie in there, because I just feel like this team's going to tie with someone.
I think 500 is even too generous for them. This team, as good as the pieces they are, which will still get them a few wins, they just on the, like you said, declining so fast right now, and they mortgage their future for the Super Bowl, which they got. So
Yeah,
worth it, I guess.
I think they're okay with it. I also think they're going to force feed Cooper Kupp the ball way too much, and he's probably going to get hurt again.
I
But
think
maybe
he's going to
get
be the
Higby.
only reason they win games right now. So
Yeah.
Until he
They'll
gets
occasionally
traded.
throw it. They'll occasionally dump it off to Higby, but like as someone who's owned him in fantasy, they're not going to throw it to him that often. They don't like tight ends.
I mean, I'm also agreeing that this is going to be probably a bad team. McVay came back feeling inspired, but I'm also thinking with reassurance that he's not going to lose his job after the season. Because Stafford fell off a plateau. Even when the line was playing well, when he had all his weapons, he was still terrible. It didn't matter. The offensive line, by the way, garbage now. It is probably the worst offensive line in the league. Cooper Kupp might be your only pass catcher that you can throw to. And Aaron Donald is a shell of his former self, surrounded by terrible talent.
Oh, father time comes for us all, and Stafford's feeling that a bit.
Yeah. I mean, this is another rebuilding team. They're just trying to get back all that cap space they lost, and while also trying to build up on the valuable mid-round picks that helped get them that Super Bowl. Because while they haven't had a first-round pick since Jared Goff, they've done well for the most part when it comes to like drafting on day 2 and 3.
I did not
They don't
realize.
have one until like 2027, right?
Yeah. I also didn't realize Jared Goff was the last first round pick.
Yep, back in 2016.
I don't even hate Jared Goff. It's crazy to me that he was the last first round pick.
right,
Right.
going on 8 years.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, how long do you think it'll be before Stetson Bennett gets some time?
The moment Stafford gets hurt, like week 6.
I agree with that.
Yeah, the 50-year-old rookie QB.
50. Oh. Yeah, it was a choice making that draft pick.
I'm not wishing Stafford to get hurt. I just think it's coming is the biggest thing. I think
You
he's
know-
going to take some of the most hits in the NFL this year. And He's very resilient and durable, but you can only get hit so many times before you're just like, hey, I won this Super Bowl and I've made a lot of money. I'm probably gonna retire. So
Yeah, so he certainly embodies Iron Man.
mhm.
So I never forget that game in Detroit where he like dislocated his shoulder, still came back in and won the game.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous.
Sorry, Cleveland.
Oh, was that against the Browns? Oh no.
I think it was, yeah.
That's just that's a Browns thing.
It's funny to think about because at that time it's like the worst of the two. It's just like who's gonna win this, and it's one of the most iconic like football finishes. That like you see like again an Iron Man coming back onto the field and just being like, my shoulder's dislocated, but I can throw the ball like 4 yards is the biggest thing.
They would have needed to do.
I'm just looking at some of the key players the Rams lost again, and it's like Jalen Ramsey, Troy Hill. I'm not counting Allen Robinson; he's not good anymore. Leonard Floyd, Bobby Wagner, and Taylor Rapp.
I
That's
forgot
their
about.
defense.
I forgot about Allen Robinson. I did also think most of the league forgot about Allen Robinson.
Yeah, he did nothing.
When your best time in sports in terms of in football is the Jacksonville Jaguars when they weren't at their best, there's an issue there, and it's more you than it is anything else. Like you can produce on the Browns, you couldn't produce not the Browns, the Bears, and then you can't produce on the Rams. It's rough, buddy.
I think they'll be, on the note of Jalen Ramsey, I think they'll be okay with that considering he's not playing for like half the season anyway.
Almost the whole season. He's not back to December.
Yeah. Yeah.
God.
Oh, God.
All right. Well, I guess that's enough time down by Hollywood. Now we have to go to the depressing rainstorm that is Seattle, with a not so depressing Seahawks crew. Going into 2022 season, you would be hard-pressed to find any football fan who had anything good to say about the direction of the Seattle Seahawks. They just traded away their superstar quarterback, who they refused to let cook, and let a journeyman quarterback in, who never got a good chance at any of his previous stops. Pete Carroll seemed like a power-hungry maniac, desperate to hog all the glory for himself, and God, what a miserable draft it looked like that they had as well. With all this negativity, the team surprised everyone by ending 9-8 and making it to the wild card. And we saw a renewed Geno Smith balling it out, a defensive back room finding itself with rookie Tariq Woolen being a surprise coming out of nowhere. And we saw one of the most fun passing offenses in the season. All while their old quarterback flamed out to boot. In the offseason, the team brought over Bobby Wagner and Devin Bush to strengthen their front seven, Devin Witherspoon to help Woolen, and Jackson Smith and Najigba to make the wide receiver room maybe the best in the league. Between DK Metcalf, JSN, and Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith should be very happy, as someone will always be open. Can the offense improve and be even more high-flying from last season, where they had 30 touchdowns of 10 or more yards, which was most in the NFL, and 20 offensive plays of at least 30 yards, which is the fourth most in the league? Well, there are concerns about that. The offensive line is the greatest weak point of this team, especially left tackle, since Charles Cross ranked 30th out of 32 left tackles in pressure rate allowed. Geno Smith's prowls may also have been an illusion and exaggerated, as he was actually worse than Russell Wilson performed in 2021. Geno averaged less EPA per attempt, yards per attempt, had more interceptions and a higher interception rate, took more sacks, and converted third downs at a lower rate. Geno was also markedly terrible against the blitz, as Seattle ranked 28th in EPA per attempt when facing a blitz, and will be facing a bevy of blitz-happy defenses this season. With the running game, Kenneth Walker was overblown by fantasy football heads, as out of 42 running backs with at least 100 carries, Walker was at the bottom in explosive rate and struggled to make any play of his own. Seattle will also have to struggle with schedules in both offense and defense that will take great jumps in difficulty this season while trying to maintain their great health luck that they had last year. Seattle's ability to rest will be put to the test, as they will travel a total of 31,600 miles in the season, greatest distance surpassing even the Jaguars, who are flying to London twice, for 2 London games. This team struggled against top 10 defenses and went having to play outside of the world, barely being able to put up any points. This team is certainly carrying a lot of hype, and I'm excited to see what they can bring to the season as well. There's a lot that there's being worried about. Everyone else?
There's a lot of good pieces. Again, a few things to worry about. I think the biggest thing for them is because the resurgence of Geno Smith, no one saw that coming. And so it's a question of, is he going to go back to Geno Smith that we knew, or is it going to be more of the same from last year, which I think probably more people are leaning towards he's going to revert back to what he used to be, at least closer to that than last year's. And then just like they always do, they need to like not have all their running backs die at the end of the like, midway through the season, because they're one of those teams who also other teams in the division have that same issue. We'll get to them later. But like it's they're made of glass up in Seattle or something.
I have to agree to a certain point. I think this is going to be a good football team. They're going to be fine. They're going to win enough games, but it's weird that this is the only team that sort of I could see at the end of the year using the same quarterback throughout the entire season, because I don't think he reverts. I think he continues to play well, but again, you're in a division where you can easily get 4 easy wins. I don't see the Rams. Well, maybe I'll say 3 easy wins. I don't see the Rams losing both games. I clearly see Cardinals, losing at both. Overcoming the 49ers in the defense is probably going to be the hardest thing, but it all depends on who the quarterback is for them as well at that point, because that's a quarterback room that's still very messy. But I think Geno has another really good season, but I just think the offense sputters out at the end like it did this year. Or it did last year, I mean.
I don't trust Geno. But they have a lot of good players. And like you guys were saying, injuries could easily take them out of that. But barring injuries, they're still gonna be a double-digit win team,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Certainly a wild card team.
yeah, I'd agree to that. I could see them getting a wild card.
Oh yeah, like wild card definitely seems in the realm of possibility for them. It's just trying to actually compete with the team we haven't discussed yet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Alright. I think feeling good there, and we can actually get to that team as we head not at the bay, like 20-25 miles out away from the bay, but close enough that you can still call them the San Francisco 49ers.
I think Adam Cole's more near the Bay than San Francisco is.
Okay. Clarify that as a resident of the Bay, they are still in the Bay. They are just at the south end of the Bay. Clarify. But yeah, I guess I'll talk about these losers just down the street from me that I have to hear about every day at work during football season. Lovely. It's pretty obvious why I don't.
Why do you hate Jerry Rice so much? I'm just curious.
I don't. I just hate the team that I live near because they don't like the team that I like. I don't think.
That's okay.
Yeah.
A lot of America doesn't like.
You guys were like fucking Magic and Larry in the 90s. I don't know why you would hate them.
But yeah, this is a team that's just that defense, disgusting, year in year out as of late. Offense, everything except for one specific piece looks fantastic, and they have great depth because they always need to use that depth by like week 5. They need to like change conditioning coaches, I swear, or like change
Yeah.
draft or something, because like
So injured.
it's always so injured and it's always so early. But they still find ways to win, and this is a team I genuinely could see being the best record, if not the second best record in the league, potentially 15 wins. Even with the quarterback, just because like this is a team that's won with like when Jimmy G was still here, they won with him only throwing the ball 6 times. Like if you're a team that can do that, Like, you don't really need a good quarterback. You just need them to be moderately competent. Like, that's just how Shanahan runs the system. I think Elijah Mitchell is just he's healthy now, so he should be fine for the season going. You've added Christian McCaffrey last year, who was finally healthy for the full season.
Weird.
Yeah, it's like that unprecedented that happened. You got Debo, who can play both roles when if you need him to, which for Debo's sake, hopefully they don't. Ayuk, who I think a lot of people are projecting to finally have his breakout season this year, potentially be even better than Debo. You've got one of the two best tight ends in the league, George Kittle, who's going to command a lot of attention. And still, even if he gets that attention, he's going to catch the ball, carry people down like 5-10 yards, even after the fact. It's just, it's so hard to see anybody beating this team. And there will be maybe, there'll be a few. The problem is just what it's always been. And for like the past 10 plus years is same thing with the Cowboys. They just need to finish. Because they'll get like just to the finish line and fall apart.
This is a team where I also think they should win their division, but I also think a lot of last season might have been a bit of an illusion itself. Good on Brock Purdy, Mr. Relevant, going out there and balling.
Oh yeah.
I'm not quite ready to say he's the next Tom Brady like some people are doing. I think he's his ceiling is Kirk Cousins, which is still good. But when he was actually having to bring the team from behind, like in the fourth quarter when the team was trailing out of 47 quarterbacks, Purdy was dead last in completion rate, 41st in touchdown interception rate, 37th in EPA per attempt, and 34th in success rate. Although at the same time, that almost never happened because the Shanahan system.
Yeah.
The defense was also terrible, even though they finished number 1 somehow. But that's because they faced the 4th easiest schedule of offenses. While if they were facing a top 10 pass offense, they were 30th in EPA per attempt, 25th in success rate allowed, 28th in yards per attempt allowed, and 31st in first down rate allowed as well. Also, this team drafted a kicker in the 3rd round, so I'm gonna take a couple wins away from them just because of that.
That's fair. That's fair. I hopefully, for me, they don't win a single game. Unfortunately, they will.
We'll hear about them, Shiloh.
Oh yeah. I know about them.
I feel like you'll hear about them win or lose. I think Kyle Shanahan's a really good coach. I think he can succeed in many ways. It's interesting when you reach San Francisco, and you move my keyboard, you decided to run the fucking ball. But that's just me. I'm just saying, weird that the run game developed in San Francisco, but Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman couldn't get it done, so we had to throw the ball more. Fucking hate you. I wish you the best, but I fucking hate you.
I think the biggest question mark that I alluded to is, and it's been mentioned already, the quarterback room. Because it should be Purdy. It should not be Darnold. The fact that Darnold is currently out in the roster spot above Trey Lance, it says a lot. But Trey Lance also cost them 3 first-round picks. So whether or not they continue to try and justify that.
I think they'd got to move on from Trey Lance.
They did. They really did.
Like, I understand he hasn't had the most opportunities, but he gets hurt. He's not playing well. I think Sam Darnold is not going to see ghosts in the back line anymore.
Yeah. And I think he's
sorry,
also
you didn't
played...
get a chance to say anything. Oh, sorry, that's time. Sorry, you didn't get a chance to say anything there, Marv.
No, there's a lot of impassioned talk from some of us. So
we're gonna go ahead and move from the nice warm climates in California. Let's scroll on up where we go to the cold Great Lakes. We're gonna go to Chicago right now.
Bears.
The Bears.
Bears. The Chicago Bears are a confusing team to try to make sense of going into the 2023 season. The team has the 6th easiest expected schedule and has the best rest advantage in the league. It's also the only team that never has a game with rest disadvantage. Coming off a season where they won 1-7 in true one-score game situations, one should expect that to regress in their favor. The team is also going from the second toughest schedule of defenses offenses faced to the 25th and 19th most difficult expected schedules respectively. There is also an expectation that the offense and quarterback should evolve and improve with the rework of the offensive line and the addition of DJ Moore. At the same time, one would not be blamed to feel excited about this team and wonder how well they can truly compete in the league. The core coaching staff of head coach Matty Eberflus, Bolsey Lugetzi, and defensive coordinator Alan Williams are returning for another year where things were not inspiring. That said, the Bears were forced to play a lot of no-names while they were dealing with the most dead cap in the league at $93 million and were forced to play keep on that with these no-names as they also had terrible draft capital, partially due to the trade that got Justin Fields. In the offseason, the Bears brought in DJ Moore through a trade to move down in the draft and added Nate Davis and 10th round pick right tackle Darnell Wright to try and help fix an offensive line that greatly struggled. In 2022, the most frequent offensive line combo only played together for 17% of offensive snaps, and only the Rams were more crucial than this. Fields was sacked on 14.7% of plays, making an NFL record high, and was under pressure about was it like 50% of the time? Something ridiculous like that. On the defensive side, the Bears brought in Jermaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards to fortify the linebacker room, trying to bring back the good old fridge years. And Yannick Ngakoue was brought in, so you have someone who's usable at edge now, even if he's not what he used to be. Hopefully this unit is at least a little bit better than the unit that finished with only 20 sacks as a team and was astronomically bad at stopping the pass. It's still hard to feel good about this roster as a whole, even if the additions were very welcome. Fields has 2 good targets to throw to between tight end Cole Kmet and wide receiver DJ Moore, but things still look bad at the skill position otherwise. It's also hard to imagine Fields making that Hurts-level jump in performance people were expecting after coming off a season where he was bottom half, not bottom 10 in many QB metrics. The Bears still need to improve more around the quarterback they want to help him. And this year honestly feels more like the eval year, or like an actual sophomore season for Fields, with this rookie season pretty much just being washed away. Bears should improve from a team that was dead last in EDSR in both offense and defense. And they should see other improvements just because of natural regression to the mean. Whether this is a season full of preparation for the draft or one where there's actual hope in their eyes, all belongs on how well they actually develop Fields. Oh, that went longer than 3 minutes.
Very good. It's like you said, it's a really weird team to figure out. But the defense has been able to stifle games as of late. Getting Fields another receiver, a true number one, to pair with Mooney, should be good for their pass game. It's just if he can get the ball off. It's like
Did you say the defense stopped anyone?
They
stopped no one.
Like they weren't like Denver levels of like ruining games, but they in games here and there they were able
the
to.
worst defense in the league.
Yeah, it's weird to say that about Chicago, but like it still managed to like slow teams down a little bit somehow. Yeah, that's so weird. They're definitely a team that's gonna finish third, if not last, purely because of teams on the up and whether or not a certain other team can stay okay. Yeah, it's a weird team to look at and figure out what they're gonna do.
I don't see the Bears pulling something together this year. I think maybe towards the end of the year they'll start to figure it out. But I mean, honestly, they might just have to hope they stay healthy and nobody else does. That might be their way to some wins.
Yeah,
but they don't have a build for anything competitive this year.
If you like a high risk, high reward quarterback for fantasy, Justin Fields. if you want to see this team win football games at a high rate, Vikings exist in this division. Best I can say.
The entire division exists.
Listen,
That's fair.
Buckeye fan here. I want Fields to do well. I'm just not sure Chicago's gonna.
This is also a NFL team whose greatest quarterback of all time is Jay Cutler. Do with that information what you will. So,
Oh,
And he wasn't even the one that won them a Super Bowl.
I mean, they made it to a Super Bowl.
They won one.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, within the relevancy of our lifetimes.
Oh, okay. That's fair. That's fair.
all right. We're gonna go to another side of the lakes now. We're gonna go ahead and take on a team that bleeds green and loves cheese. Marv, can you go ahead and talk about the Green Bay Packers?
Oh, that's the team we're doing next? Oh, okay.
And they finished third.
No,
Yeah.
Marv heard bleeds green and went to a different tab entirely.
I couldn't tell from that. Packers, middle of the road kind of team. 500 kind of team. They need to figure out their quarterback situation because they have had it decided for them for the past like 2 decades, and now they need to actually put some thought to it. They have Jordan Love. He's confident. He knows the onus of the position he's put in. That he's the only new guy they've had that in a while. You know. I think he's ready, but I don't know if his first full season here is going to be enough to go anywhere. I think he has to build the rapport with all of his players, get used to it, and hope he gets coached well through the rest of it. They still have some good players. I really like Christian Watson. I want to see Bo Melton do really well because, well, yeah, he came from Rutgers, so I want to see him do well. And yeah, I feel like they've just had a lot of strong players around them. You look at the running back core, it's not really there anymore. They have AJ Dillon, and they have Aaron Jones, of course. But like all these teams, I keep calling out 2 running backs for them, and you can't build a team around 2 running backs. That's not, especially when you don't have a QB that's really gonna do it on the ground. So yeah, like I said, they have strong players, just no major star potential, I guess. So yeah, middle of the road, 500, give them 9 wins, 10 at most, and yeah, maybe, yeah, probably wild card borderline. That's about it.
They're lucky.
Yeah, that's fine. Definitely borderline. Wrong side of it, probably, but yeah.
This is honestly, if you're looking at it, this is a team that's in a very similar situation to the Panthers, where it's just they could maybe be good again in a few years, but for now they just gotta find their feet and like move on from Aaron Rodgers and see how they do that.
Like,
Also, I have a weird beef with Jordan Love because San Jose State fan as well. So Jordan Love went in the first round. Josh Love didn't get drafted. I'm upset about that still. But yeah.
It's unknown. Like, I don't know what to make of this team just because I don't know what to expect of Jordan Love. He's looked good in the preseason, but that's the preseason.
Yeah.
Nobody's playing their full team, so.
Yeah, except for Aaron Jones, their skill position is essentially first and second years. So,
Yep.
Like Dobbs.
great offensive line still, though. If Bakhtiari's healthy.
Yeah, I think the protection's gonna be there, but that doesn't win games. It just makes sure you don't lose games.
Yeah. Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Again, you haven't had to look for a quarterback in a very long time. Jordan Love has to prove himself. It's the biggest thing. I think he's going to make mistakes like a rookie would, even though he's technically not a rookie. It's going to be his first time starting several games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them moving on from him, even if he plays poorly this season. I think he has to, unless injury, he's gonna have to deal with all 17 is the biggest thing. And I think where the record sticks, that's what they're gonna make the decision at the end of the year. Like, do we finally just move on? Like, you kind of existed for us, you know, you didn't actually pan out. Go out and get better talent. Because again, this team is still relatively young and it's gotten younger. But if you want to strike while the iron is hot, because this division is a division that's going to be up in the air for quite a bit of time. I know there's other teams that are also building around other players, but this is a division that each year could be a different top number one, just because it's so weird and like it's different than other divisions. Unlike the other division we're going to get to, who hasn't had a consecutive division winner in forever. So I can see them winning this division, but at the same time, I can also see them finishing third. It's hard to say.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if this team does well and actually has a winning record. I also wouldn't be surprised if they finish like 6 or 7 wins. I was just trying to think of, when it comes to actually thinking of this team's schedule, I think I'll base mine more off of who they're facing than the Green Bay Packers themselves, just to make it easier for myself. Also, the defense always looks okay on paper. Can they put that together? Can they actually put that talent to what is expected to be? Also, looking at the players they had again, they had, between the second and third round, 2 tight ends and a wide receiver added. Boy, how did Rodgers feel watching that draft?
Oh, do we still have time? Or
Yeah, we have
moving on?
like 15 seconds, unless we just want to, you know, we can just move on now.
Yeah, let's say we can just move on.
Yeah, let's go to the more fun team that kept the Packers from going to the playoffs. Who wants to bite some kneecaps as we go ahead and learn from Shiloh about the Detroit Lions?
They went to the restroom.
No,
Go
I'm
back.
back now. I'm just trying to figure out my headphones. I can't hear my right ear for some reason.
Hello.
Hello?
Testing.
No, okay, I'll just have to unplug my headphones.
All right. This it's honestly probably my favorite team. That I not necessarily one of my favorites to watch, because I mean, Dan Campbell is just so fun to watch as head coach. Like, it wasn't last year. I think it was the year before. But the game where they went for like 2 onside kicks, the fake punt. It felt like he was playing Madden with an actual professional team. It was fun to watch. You got the running game where you lose Jamal Williams, but you replace him with David Montgomery, which is, you know, in a way you could argue this addition by subtraction, because you're taking away a big piece from one of your division rivals and still coming up about like net positive, if not neutral, with your own running game. Mims is hurt, which is not great for them. But you still got like losing Hawk is probably the biggest thing for them though. On that offensive side, you got Goff, who's still gonna hold it down for a little bit. You got Hooker, who's in like the back there, who hopefully they'll have their quarterback in the future when he's ready to go. The defense still needs holes filled, but it was better than it has been in recent memory. Fuck it. Oh, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's always gonna be, you know,
Yeah,
able
good slot. Eventually, they're getting Jameson Williams back when he's back from his gambling suspension.
True, yeah. And then one thing I am forgetting about, they're not really turning out net neutral, because they did lose their other one. Another team we'll talk about at the end of the night. Which is still a weird choice to let him go, but you know, he wanted to win, I guess. And yeah, it's a team that's getting there. I think they could potentially win the division. I still think it's the Vikings to lose, but they're on the up and up. They just need some more pieces, and they'll be good to go. But it'll be fun to watch.
I have the Detroit Lions winning the division.
Wow.
I do too. It's just it's whether or not they can actually live up to expectations on that one.
Oh. I don't think they're gonna be like coming as a storm, like just wrecking every other team. I'm
Mhm.
expecting them to still be fun. And let's see where Ben Johnson goes after this year, their offensive coordinator. He was almost a head coach this offseason. He might be one next offseason.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I
sorry, go ahead.
I think the Lions are the like. If you don't have an NFL team you're a fan of, it's the Lions. They try, they fight, they grind, they battle. They come up short a lot.
They Viking cats.
Sucks. I wish them the best. I think they're right there on the cusp of being a playoff team. Like wild card is in their sights. Division is, I would say, just a little out of their reach unless something happens with the Vikings this year. Goff has surprised me. Honestly, it's the biggest thing. I liked him in LA, but everyone thought he was a system quarterback. If he is, he's able to develop into another system very quickly, playing very well. I still can't believe, what was it, Jameson Williams was the one who got suspended for gambling. That's idiotic to me that gambling gets you suspended. I'll be honest. There's a lot worse things that you can get suspended for that get less games. I hope this team is a winning team this year, but if they're not, it's not going to surprise me. It's still Detroit at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean it's mostly all been said. The division itself is very, very weird. I don't see them winning the division. I can see them taking a second or third. I don't think they're gonna be last by any means, but I don't see them winning the division with what they have.
I'm gonna be tearing into the next team coming up when we do get to it, by the way. But I mean, with this team, with not really a good-looking roster, they were still top 10 in efficiency with offense. They were just so fun. Goff was throwing like a pretty short average distance, but the whole system as a whole was built in such a great way to just open things up for everyone, do fun things that would confuse defenses. And good thing for Goff, who is terrible in cold weather, is that only one of the final 9 games the Lions play will be outside a dome, and the other one, oh yeah, the other one's going to be at Chicago. So hey,
Oh boy. Well, you're telling me someone who played football in California is
Sorry,
not
yeah.
used to cold?
I just think this is going to be a really fun team. I don't know if they make it past the wild card round, but I'm excited for another year of this team. Even if Jameer Gibbs wasn't even weird picking Bijan Robinson. All right.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're going to go to the team that I think I am much lower on than everyone else here. The one who did not deserve their, what was it, 13 or 14 wins? Let's go to the Purple People Eaters now, Johnny.
Kirk Cousins was drafted in the same draft that RG3 was, and people viewed it as a mistake because why draft someone who is never going to play for the Commanders? Cut to 2 years later, Kirk Cousins is playing for the Commanders and is making them a winning football team. The same way RG3 kind of was, but not getting hurt. He has consistently proven to be a good quarterback. I'm not going to say great quarterback. He's consistently proven to be good. That is why he's gotten paid the money he has. Do I like that? No. Do I think he's going to consistently win games for the Vikings in the near future? Yes. But A, it's because you can just throw it up and Justin Jefferson will be out there somewhere and he will gritty on you in the end. Yeah. Do I think they should have traded for TJ Hawkinson? That was a weird fucking trade. I don't see why that happened. Do I still think he's going to do well? Yes. This defense is flip a coin. It may show up, it may not show up, but even when it does show up, they might give up 28 points, but they'll still end up winning the football game, possibly 35 or 42-28. This is their division to lose, mostly because this team is in a weird place where it's like we can win football games, we can come back because our offense can be explosive. They just got rid of Dalvin Cook. I don't see that as a loss, mostly because Dalvin Cook was regressing. It's going to be one of those things where Dalvin Cook will probably do well for the Jets, but the backup will fill the hole easily because, again, running backs or a dime a dozen in this league now, and it sucks to say, but it's where we are. Also, the receiving room is going to be perfectly fine. Losing Thielen was not the worst thing in the world by any means, because they
Might
did
help.
just draft.
Jordan
Yeah,
Hudson,
yeah. It's again, like you said, addition by subtraction. They're going to be fine. This team is probably going to win double-digit games easily.
No.
Yeah, I think so, Nate. I truly think so.
I think so as well.
Because I look at the division and you have potentially 4 easy wins. That's you're halfway there, picking up 6 or 7 more wins in this league, because you're facing AFC teams that are not going to be very well either. So again, double-digit wins. I think they take the division unless Kirk gets hurt.
I'll let you all go before me, before I rip into this team.
Valid. For me, going off the last thing you went then, with them taking the division, for me, either whether they win it or lose it, it's gonna come down to that final day, playing against the team who will probably win it if they don't, be the Detroit, because that's just how I see the schedules lining up for both of them. But yeah, drafting a receiver in the first round who immediately slots into the wide receiver 2 slot, arguably, like I think some people are saying, potentially the second best receiver in this class. Madison did well when Cook was hurt last year, so I mean he'll easily slot up into that the one spot. The team, there's nothing too spectacular other than like Jefferson. They're a quietly just solid team. They're good. No real star power, but they're good, and they can consistent in most of the time. But yeah. Mark, have you got anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think even last week I was talking about the Vikings a little bit, and I think they're good. I think, like you were saying, there's a lot of addition by subtraction with Thielen. I think as well with Cook. I don't think Dalvin Cook, with all the good things he did, I don't think he was really right for this team. And I think having him take a back seat, not be a part of this, is going to help out a lot.
All right, my time now. Hey, did y'all know Kirk Cousins had his worst year last year?
Good stuff.
He had his worst season in Minnesota at completion percentage, yards per attempt, and touchdown percent. He was 22nd in passing without pressure versus number 3 the year before. He was 18th in passing from the pocket when he was number 9 and 9th in 2021. And he was 16th in early downs without play action versus number 10 in 2021. He remarkably regressed and will likely continue to do so. Jefferson should have been MVP for carrying this team so far, but how long until his back breaks trying to hold this team, which has made massive turnover on roster, having to get rid of a lot of their all of their pieces. Their defense is not someone to fear. They're going to have to continue to put up 35 points to keep up with even mediocre teams. Meanwhile, their front seven is no one. They already traded them all. Happened to the Cleveland Browns. This team went 11-0 in one-score games, which is the best mark in NFL history. Had a positive turnover margin. Had some of the best health in the league. And all of this always regresses to the mean, especially if you're a historic in one-score games. This is the first team since at least 1990 to win double-digit games for trailing by over 70 combined points entering the fourth quarter in those games. They are the first team in NFL history to win over 9 games, losing the first 3 quarters, trailing by that margin. Somehow, 13-4, even though anyone could see how bad they actually were. This is a team who is not who they looked like they were last year. That was a 6-win team disguised as a 13-win team. This is the worst team. It's not the worst team in the division. I think the Bears might actually be worse. But this is the 3rd or 4th place team in the division. And they are going to be smacked down hard, and only the coaches and GMs seem to understand that because they've been acting just like that. Also, Madison was also actually really bad. He was like at ranking of the like 40s and 50s for a lot of running back metrics when he was able to play, even considering how many snaps he got. But that's it for the NFC North.
Oh boy.
We get to go ahead and have some fun now. Well,
Oh boy.
we have to go past the team that's I don't know if any of us really care to talk about first, as we go over to the Capitol and have Johnny take on the Washington Commanders.
It's the poverty franchise that should be sold, but it's not going to be sold because you have a garbage owner who's a horrible human being. This might be the worst team in the NFL if the Cardinals didn't exist, but I think it's like this. I think it's so bad. Chase Young developed, but he kept getting hurt. He should be traded away. This is a team that has run through quarterbacks outside of like any other team more quickly than I'm surprised. Like, it's rough. Trade your assets, trade the team. It's there's nothing positive here, honestly. Your name's not even good. So fuck off. That's all I got.
Matches the team. But yet they did sell the team.
Yeah,
Dan Snyder's no longer there.
Okay. Well, they did something positive this offseason.
Yeah, that was their Super Bowl. Legitimately. Getting rid of
They
Dan
really
Snyder.
did celebrate it like that. So
Yeah.
Like, you know, and for them, I'm happy for that. As much as I despise them.
But
But
they won't have a stadium that falls apart soon enough, too.
well,
they have the money for it now.
baby steps. This is the team I think is gonna probably perform expectations purely because when it's healthy, that defense is a really good one. It's just on the other side of the ball, you've got maybe Gibson and Scary Terry, and that's about it. Brissett's the quarterback now, at least for now. Maybe Howell if he take the spot.
They named Howell the starter.
He did? Okay. Which I think is for their best interest. Because he looked good against us the final game of the season. Not surprising. We sucked the last week of the season every fucking year. Hate it. But yeah, I mean, there's promise there. It's not much, but there's some.
Yeah, I'm interested to see like what the enemy can do for this offense that went nowhere. Like, love to chew up the clock, but made nothing for it. Like, can the enemy help with their efficiency? Can he help with any of their planning? Like, I'm glad he's getting more of an opportunity to show what he can bring. I wonder how much Ron Rivera is going to hold back, or how much the enemy can actually bring. This is a true test for him.
Oh, I want to add, just because I'm a petty fellow NFC East enjoyer. The only team in the division to not make the playoffs, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this team is going to get a bunch of wins just because of new ownership. Like, honestly.
I could see that.
I also very much just dislike Washington's running back core. I've just never enjoyed watching Gibson or McKissick at all, and they've been like the faces of the running back room. But I like their wide receivers. I really like Samuel. Curtis Samuel. He's been doing really nice, and I think they're starting to get this new blood slowly trickling in. That's gonna make this a new team altogether. Especially like Jahan Dotson as well. Like, those two are very, very good, and I want to see them continue to thrive here.
I want Terry McLaurin on another team with a good quarterback, just so that people can realize how good he actually is.
I don't know if he'd ever change teams.
I don't think he ever will either.
What is his age? Do we know? Like,
I think 27. Yeah, 27.
yeah, he would have changed teams relatively soon.
Where is the only team? Four and a half.
The offensive line's, I guess, another concern. I like the defensive line. I like the defense. I think that the defense will get them a couple more wins than they deserve, at least.
Yeah.
The offensive line is not looking good. They allow pressure at very high rates, even like allowing pressure in 2.5 seconds or fewer on 24.6% of snaps. The offensive line was 26th in pressure rate allowed and 27th in pass block win rate. So, good luck to Hal trying to stay up.
Yeah.
Unless Bienemy coaches that up too, if he can coach that up.
Oh, that'd be great for them.
Another
briefly-
NFC East team got their offensive line coached up well.
Briefly back on McLaurin real quick. It's just because he's been their number one for a bit, and it may not be this year or next year, but the amount of quarterbacks that he's had 1,000-yard seasons with is ridiculous. Because it's just almost never unheard of with the amount of quarterbacks he's had to continue to have the success he had, which I think is one of their bright spots on that offense.
You know, I will say something. Are we done talking about the Commanders?
You can keep talking in 30 seconds.
Okay, this is not Commanders related. This is other sports related. It's very interesting that we did AFC last week and NFC this week because it falls on the fact that there's a baseball series starting between the Giants and the Phillies the exact same time we're going to be talking about the upcoming few teams.
Excited for tomorrow. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying today.
Yeah, I brought that up because I imagine Mark's paying attention to it. I was
Oh yeah, I have it up on the side.
I was,
That's it. Don't worry.
Alright. We're done being at the Capitol. We're going to go ahead and return to the Big Apple. Well, close to it. We're going to go back to Jersey and take on the New York Giants. Going into the 2022 season, the New York Football Giants were a moribund team trying to wash itself of the disaster that was the Gilliman years. The Stars were faded from the times when they were the David and Goliath story, taking down Brady and crew. And this is a team trying to understand if Danny Dimes was going to pan out or not. Saquon was expected to be a star in the making, but he was flaming out early as he struggled to maintain his health, and the team was the definition of mediocrity. The last 5 seasons, the Giants had never had a winning record during any point of those seasons. That changed from the word go when the Giants made a gutsy win over the Titans as new head coach and eventual coach of the year, Brian Daboll, called for the team to try for 2 when they could have tried at the time go to overtime. This call and the game as a whole became a beacon of hope and signaled a better time in the Big Apple for this team. The team was fun and exciting as we saw a renewed Saquon, a Daniel Jones showing off his own legs without stumbling to the end zone this time, and left tackle Andrew Thomas went from looking like a bust to one of the best players in his position. What a turnaround good coaching can bring to a team! The team went from 31st in avoiding third downs to 6th and last in red zone efficiency to 7th. Daboll understood the talents of the roster and made the most of them in every way while also knowing how important the first 2 downs really are in the game. This team should remain exciting so long as he is there and is able to keep evolving the team. All this optimism is not without concern though, as I struggle to see this team repeating or maybe even having a winning record. For all the love Daniel Jones got, he still never showed he is capable of being a franchise quarterback. In the 16 games he started, he only threw 15 or 16 touchdowns, averaged 6.8 yards per attempt, was 30th in the NFL, was 19th in EPA per attempt, and 33rd in first down conversion rate on third downs. He was an impressive runner, but some of this is just because he was told to tuck the ball and be more secure with it. The offensive line's interior is a major concern, and the offensive line as a whole past their left tackle was pretty bad, as this unit finished 26th in run block rate and 29th in pass rush win rate. It's also unclear what the running back room will look like with the dissatisfaction Saquon is having with the team over the contract situation. This all without bringing up the best catcher is a 30-year-old tight end with a bad injury history and not much past him. Giants are going from the second easiest schedule to the 14th toughest in the league. Going from the 19th toughest schedule opposing defenses to the toughest. From the 26th toughest schedule to the 16th. They have the 5th worst net rest edge. There's a lot of hope for this team. A lot of things to be excited about. But things are not looking great this time around, though. Thoughts?
1 second. I gotta deal with something real quick. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, that is that shallow. That was a lot of talk for a third place team.
Yeah.
You kind of said it how it is, Nate. Daniel Jones is just kind of there. He's not in danger of his position, but he's just gonna kind of coast. Barkley is not gonna bounce back enough to become top 10 at any point or anywhere close to it, I don't think. So yeah, they just don't have a core right now. They need to rebuild. And I'm very, very happy that my girlfriend is a Jets fan and not a Giants fan.
I think this season's probably gonna be as good as the play from Daniel Jones, where they'll look nice, and then they'll fall in the face. Again, petty NFC East joke. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, sorry, Shaw.
if they're lucky, they can somehow bullshit a wild card spot, but I don't think they're going to. I think it's going to be a year where it's just those top 2 teams again.
No, I'm good. Let's move on to the main event.
We have a minute to talk still.
Can I use
Oh.
part of that minute to go shout out to late afternoon Lamont? Lamont. It's referring to the Giants Phillies game.
Okay.
I will say,
all right.
this team, if Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott simultaneously get hurt, they have a chance to win the division. But that's about it. They may make the playoffs again this year, maybe, but it's tough. You can't win the division, but I think again this division runs through a different city.
One of 2.
I think this division runs. I think this division runs through a Liberty City.
We'll see.
Take it.
By the way, for people who don't get the joke for the slides, this is just the same ones I've been using for the Jets.
Of course.
Share a stadium, share the slides.
I don't get that. I've never understood why you have to share a stadium. It's very idiotic
Not
to
really
me.
my guess. I don't know.
Well, it's also they don't even play in New York. They don't even play in New York. They play in fucking Jersey.
Good luck finding a stadium in New York.
Yeah, but I'm just saying Buffalo plays in New York.
Yeah.
It's the Barclays Center. Not to play football, but it's Barclays.
Shiloh, are you ready to go ahead and take on your favorite team?
Oh yeah,
America's favorite team to hate, the Dallas Cowboys.
team with the largest fan base across the country. I'll tell you that. This team. Boy, am I ready for disappointment again. But it's a team that year in, year out, minus the odd year here and there, should be doing or finishing a lot better than they do. They just put Ezekiel Elliott at fucking center in the last play of the season potentially.
Well, not anymore.
They find new ways to frustrate. It's the defense. Despite the fact that I've always been hesitant on it because of the fact that it wasn't good before the secondary had issues. It still kind of does. But it was one of the better units in the league last year, and a little bit the year before, not quite as much, but a little bit. Micah Parsons is ridiculous. We wanted it like a cornerback. We wanted, I think it was like Surtain. Not getting Surtain was probably the best thing for us because Parsons can play on the line if we need him to. He's better at linebacker, of course, but he can, and he does it well. The line needs some help still on the defensive side, but it's a solid line. offense, you're bringing in Brandon Cooks, so that'll move Gallup down to the 3 slot, which I think is, that's fair. CeeDee Lamb hopefully continues to just get better. The tight end room is a question mark because you've got who's probably going to start, Jake Ferguson, but you've also got like Schoonmaker, Pendershot behind him, so you got another triplet situation in the tight end room. And the Cowboys love their tight end play. Got out Jason Witten. I think it's just Dak needs to figure it out because he's starting to get to the point where that money doesn't feel like it was worth it. And he's not keeping up as much as other quarterbacks in the league are, despite the fact that he's still in one of the better offenses. Who, on that note, the offensive coordinator, our new one, Brian Schottenheimer, was behind the 2018 Seahawks with the Russell Wilson getting one of the best quarterback ratings, like 22nd, tied for 22nd all time for quarterback, which how many quarterbacks there's been is, surprising. And they were the best rushing offense, which I think we need that because that's a lot of what we do as well, historically. So you got Pollard, who's probably going to take another step this year. Then you've got question marks behind him because I don't really know who's going to be the number 2, but I would assume hopefully it's Deuce Vaughn because he's done well in preseason so far. It may be Rojo, which I hope not, as much as I love Rojo, because he didn't really see much out of him in Tampa Bay, but maybe the coaches here can turn him into something. Losing Kellen Moore, for me, that was a win because he's a great offensive coordinator. He was very predictable though after a point. It just, you knew what the Cowboys were going to do after long enough, and it's just so hopefully McCarthy and then Schottenheimer can get this running differently, be a little more surprising. But otherwise, it looks like a team that could potentially win the division. I think it's going to come down to 1 or 2 games, whether or not they do, because it's going to be a very close race for the East. I think one of the things that helps them out is the other team losing some pieces on one side of the ball. But it's whether or not, we can keep it together long enough, which I always am hesitant to say that we will, because I know the team disappoints me so much. But yeah.
Mark, do you want to go now or after Johnny and I?
Yeah, I'll take it now.
Okay.
I agree with Shiloh that it's going to be a 2-team race in the East, but only for second place. I think one is already set. I think your coaching staff's turning over, and I think that's going to really help Dallas. But there was too many shakeups in the offseason. I don't see them having a team together, at least for the first half of the season. And I don't think that's going to be I think that's going to be enough of a detriment to keep them out of the running for first place of the division.
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. I was going to say, I was very worried about their offensive line because of the Zach Martin situation. But hey, good for him getting that contract. Still wonder how things are looking when they're replacing Jason Peters and Connor McGovern. They're relying on a second-round pick when it comes to tight end. And Brian Schottenheimer is not calling the plays. That's Mike McCarthy is going to be doing that.
Yeah.
And Mike McCarthy, in the offseason, is quoted as saying, having said about Kellen Moore, I've been where Kellen has been. Kellen wants to light the scoreboard up, but I want to run the damn ball so I can rest my defense. The same issues that caused McCarthy to get fired from the Packers when he refused to let Rodgers throw it out in the Super Bowl. It cost the Packers a win. The same McCarthy who thought that all you need to win a game is get to a certain amount of rushing yards. I don't know if the Cowboys have actually built their team in the offseason like they want to pass more. I don't trust McCarthy. I think he's serious that he wants things that are going back to being like, oh yeah, you just need 100 rushing yards and you win the game, right?
Yeah, time will tell on that end what he decides to do, because I've not been the biggest fan of him since he came in, but it was better than the last guy. Tell you that much. Yeah.
I think Dak Prescott's going to go down as a better quarterback than Troy Aikman did, but Troy Aikman was able to get this team to a Super Bowl. I think at this point, and I don't mean any disrespect to Shiloh or this team, shut the fuck up and prove it at this point. If you're gonna still be America's team, go win a playoff game. Go win a Super Bowl. Even appear in the Super Bowl. I am tired of hearing of this is this whole country's team. Yeah, I know this country sucks, but stop showing it on the field and go fucking win a Super Bowl. This isn't the 90s anymore. We're 30 years removed. You know who else was a team of the 90s? The Braves. We won one. And it took us fucking till 2019, 2020 to win a World Series again to prove we still have the ability to win. But again, you guys had the 90s, not the 2010s, not the 2000s. Please win. I am tired of believing in this team to finally get over the hump and win, and you're not doing it. Win.
Fuck Jerry Jones.
That's a part of the problem.
That's a
Yeah.
given.
Hey,
He needs to hurry up and die. So
Well, and now we get to move on to
In-game.
our last team for the discussion, the Super Bowl
In-game,
runner-ups.
in-game.
We're going to go ahead and have Mark talk about the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Eagles, the runner-ups of the Super Bowl, who saw what happened. They saw the talent they had, and then they just kept adding more. And they can't stop adding more talent. And yes, some of these people are going to start retiring, but they've already had their backups like on lock. Our defense is going to be probably the best in the NFL this year. I can see having the highest interceptions in the NFL. I can see it. Our O-line is still strong. We're still going to run. Anytime we have 1 yard left, we're going to just shove our quarterback across the line. It's going to work at 99% of the time, just like it did last year. We still have pretty much all of our weapons from last year, and we've kept adding more. Our running back, I've never been more happy with the setup for running backs we have. We kept Kenneth Gainwell. We kept Boston Scott, pretty much just for whenever we play the Giants. And then we added in DeAndre Swift, and we added in Rashad Penny. And that is going to be so incredibly huge for this team. We're finally going to be a running team again ever since Miles Sanders stopped performing at the level he used to. And then our wide receivers, we kept our top two again in wide receivers, and we again added more weapons. We still have Devonta Smith. We still have A.J. Brown. We even still have Kes Watkins, even though he didn't do a ton last year, but we didn't really give him the opportunity to. And we're still looking good. We still have Dallas Goedert at tight end. We're starting to add more pieces there as well. It's just this team is just so full of players. Everywhere you look, there's a name you recognize. The linemen themselves are great. We are now turning into the Georgia Eagles, which I'm not mad about either at this point. We just keep bringing in more talent because talent recognizes talent, and they want to come here. And it makes it work, and we're going to keep winning year after year. I don't think we're going to miss the playoffs for another 5 to 7 years. That's what I got to start with.
Shiloh, your rebuttal.
I mean, there's nothing too much to rebuttal. I know there's like the biggest thing, which it's not going to probably matter too much, because they lost some pieces on defense. But again, I think they'll fill those in fine. And they are going to be one of the better teams in the league, as much as it pains me to say that. It's just going to question, for me at least, personally, it's going to come down to the, let's see, let me pull up the schedule here. Okay, I got the teams wrong. The stretch, you could maybe argue the 5 games with the first game against the Cowboys in Philly, but it's going to be in Philly, so I think they win that one fine. But then after that, you've got the Chiefs, the Bills, the Niners, and then the Cowboys at home, which I think we could take that one purely because it's a home game. But like I think that's where like the division, like depending on how well they do in that stretch, will fall to. But
Also, the Cowboys at
Eagles have a
home.
problem that won't fucking go away, and I hate it.
The Cowboys at home is right before their bye week as well.
Yeah.
They have bye week 10, which is a great spot as well for a bye week.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's not to mention like after that you got the Seahawks, which you'll probably beat. But I mean, it's still like you got like a stretch where this is the team that finally playing a schedule that they earned instead of the cupcake one they had last year.
I mean,
It was the easiest schedule last season.
we also play the Giants 2 of the last 3 weeks. So
Wow,
that's right.
that one's always heated. I still think you sweep that, but
yeah, that's why I'm excited about it. I'm like, okay, we can rest people a little bit going into the playoffs.
probably rest people the last 3 weeks entirely. It's got the Cardinals in between.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that is our coast. That is our heal, our refresh, renew, and test out some plays going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
John?
Oh, this is gonna be an easy season. I hope you guys enjoy watching one half of football and then going to do something else in the second half. You guys are going to take advantage of a fully built team. Again, I think you guys only rival the Chiefs, honestly, at this point. And that's who you played in the Super Bowl last year. I don't see you having any issues this year. Again, outside of injury, A, B, and C in terms of like your line, that's fine. Receiving core is fine. Running back room's fine. Quarterback.
We haven't even mentioned Hurts yet.
I'll
that's
say
the
that.
fun thing. We haven't even mentioned him yet.
That's the biggest thing about Hurts. I understand people like, this. He has heart. He has fight. He believes in this team. He believes in this city. I think he's number 2 in the league. And I know it's like he's only been doing this a few years. Patrick Mahomes only doing it a few years, and then he just skyrocketed. Josh Allen skyrocketed. Herbert skyrocketed. Give the young guys a chance to prove they can ball and let them ball. And that's what he did last year. He put the team on his back, and so did every other skill position player out there, from running back to receiver to tight end to defense. Also, I do think this defense is probably going to be the best defense in the league, because there's a lot of really good defenses out there, but this is a defense that I think is special. And this team in general, I think, is special. But it's going to upset me a lot if this team doesn't win a Super Bowl and the Nick Foles-led team did win a Super Bowl. I like that team a lot, but it's just like, this team deserves it so much.
Hurts on the ground is where he thrives. He can throw the ball. He has good accuracy as well, and he has really good receivers. He can do jump balls and get away with it now and then. But it's really just going to be his legs and the O-line keeping everything spread so that he can just keep mashing first downs. That's all he needs to do with his legs.
All right. Before that's time. Also, real quick, thank you so much, Glasses Journal, for the raid.
Hey!
Come on, you can stop us for glasses.
I was trying to.
Co-worker, Nick. Come on, respect.
Yeah, thanks, co-workers, for the raid. Conversato Kong here, variety streamer. Like to a lot of 14, doing a 3-part stream with JohnnyRose, marfman1o1, and shilOMG. Talk about a preview for the 2023 NFL season right now. No, I hate interrupting people. I'm sorry. But yeah, hope everyone had a fantastic time. If you need to raid and run, thank you so much. We're actually on our last stretch of things right now, where we're, after being done with all the teams, we're going to give our final thoughts and everything. Hope everyone had a fantastic stream.
Yeah, glasses up. We had fun. Everyone else coming out and
aspect
love
of
you. I see the NFC again. I see 3 teams, and I think we all know the teams. Let's be honest. The Eagles, the Cowboys, and the 49ers.
Yeah.
The South exists, just like in real life. The South exists. It has to. It's there.
Can we just make their division a wildcard spot or something?
I honestly, I wish.
Make the North a wild card spot too at this point.
And it's
There you go.
it's one of those things where it's like, I guess the Vikings. That's still whatever. But it's like the NFC, I think, is more cut and dry than the AFC is. Like it's gonna be 3 teams, and then the wild card teams, and then the actual other divisions, whatever. But it's so obvious who we're gonna see at the top at the end of the year, but we have to still get there. It's the biggest thing.
Right.
It just comes down to which one of the 2 teams at the top is going to be the one hosting the title game, whether it's Philly or San Francisco.
By the way, also, I personally also feel like between the Eagles, Cowboys, and Niners, those might be 3 of the top 6 overall rosters in the league as well.
Mhm.
Yeah,
like,
because
they're the heavyweights for this conference. Everyone else is there.
yeah, it's that's why I think like right now for a lot of teams that are all rebuilding, it's a good time to rebuild.
Yeah, because the names are already up there. Do you think the Chiefs or the Eagles have the better roster?
Oh, Eagles,
I think
hands down.
the Eagles actually might have downgraded on their defensive line despite adding some talent to it, just because of who they had to lose. But that's just like the run defense. That's saying the Chiefs' run defense might be, not the Eagles' run defense might be worse, but that's ticky tacky stuff in this NFL.
Yeah.
Chiefs are definitely like the better.
Chiefs,
Sorry.
overall, Eagles are better. Like the Chiefs have Mahomes.
Yeah, I think that's what
That's
takes
why I
the
brought up the roster question. Yeah.
Yeah, because
as a roster, you look at each position, the Eagles have a better one, but it's just when you watch them play, the Chiefs have the better team somehow. That's just because of Kelsey and Mahomes.
it's like looking at like the Patriots for however long
Right.
Tom Brady was there. It's like there were a lot of teams that had a better roster, but it's like it's Tom Brady, it's Bill Belichick, like it's the 1-2
Rob
punch.
Gronkowski.
Yeah, like it's the 1-2 punch. Like that's what I think Kansas City has, and that's why it's like they're already a top 5 team in terms of like the depth and everything, just because of those two. But I still think Eagles, even though losing some pieces and adding more pieces, I still think they have more depth.
And I think they did lose some pretty important defensive pieces for the Eagles, but they are immediately replacing with young talent that they're still going to put on an experienced line.
Yeah.
And with 2-3 years, their line will still be as good, if not better now.
Jalen
But
Carter.
what-
The only reason I don't want to think Jalen Carter would be Defensive Rookie of the Year is because he might be the backup.
Yeah,
That's fair. My one last thing about the Eagles is, hey, you want to have Jalen Hurts go back to just throwing 2 picks to our secondary every game? Great.
Hey, I even if that happens, I don't think it would matter. So I think I'm okay with that.
because I think it'd be 2 picks, but then 2 rushing touchdowns. I think he would. I think he would immediately get it back. Is the biggest thing.
The Eagles just found some weird way to just. I mean, if you paid attention to the end of 2021 season, you would have seen this coming, which is why I was so high on the Eagles going into 2022.
Yeah, that's
But, like-
we had that full discussion because I remember back to 2021. I had the Eagles actually upsetting the Bucks just because they didn't prove it that game, but like that was a young team that had a lot of fucking fight in them, and they went down and got beat, but it was a beating I think that still showed that hey, we're here, we're ready to fucking fight for this league. They have.
Honestly, a part of it's just Philly as a whole because you see, last year, yeah, the Eagles were in the Super Bowl and the Phillies were in the World Series in the
It's
same year.
It's a city that doesn't quit. Again, it's not like they didn't win, but they're there because they want to prove, hey, we're there. It's the biggest thing in the world.
Whether or not
Yeah.
they have what it takes, they're still doing above and beyond that to make it happen.
Yeah.
Even in that the Bucks game, though, it's like as much as they got beat, like the Bucks, so at a certain point, just weren't looking good at all. I mean, it's like it was closer to the end because you could see like the Eagles coming through as well as the downfall of the Buccaneers on top of that. But it's just. I hate this team so much.
By the way, I guess circling a little bit back while we still have some time, I'm kind of surprised I'm the one out of us that actually had. I don't know if it's necessarily in the grand scheme of things, I'm the one with the spicy take on the Vikings, or if you three are the actual outliers, because I don't hear or see anyone saying the Vikings are going to repeat from where I look at things.
I still think they'll be a playoff team. They're not going to be great, but they can either if they win that division's not that great at the moment, as far as we know anyway. So they're either going to win the division unconvincingly, or they're going to get the wild card spot, and the Lions are going to win it
I
barely.
just think the bill is coming due for them. They've been defying
yeah.
fate too long. They are going to get hit hard.
I guess it's just they're doing it at a good time where the North is in a heavily transitional period because the Packers don't have Aaron Rodgers anymore. So it's like, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, I think as much as you haven't heard like great things about the Vikes for this year, I also haven't heard much bad about them. It's another instance of that people don't really know how it's all going to mesh together with the change ups in roster.
This is a team that made every move proving they're trying to rebuild. Like, that defense is in rebuild mode. That offense is in rebuild mode. They just have Justin Jefferson there making everything look better than it is because he is transcendent.
Yeah, I think for them, they're doing it at a very good time, purely because of what's going on with the other 3 teams in that division.
So,
So.
I mean, this is a team I didn't think was going to come close to 13 wins last season. For all I know, Defying Fate is just their thing right now, and they got a perfect season this time.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far. I don't think there's any team in the league that'll get a perfect season this year, despite how good like the top 2-3 teams look. They're still going to lose 1-2 games.
I think it's gonna take a really special team to go undefeated. Like,
Yeah, especially with the extra game now.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be one of those things where we will see, of course, like records being broken more quickly now with the extra game. Especially like if it's teams playing every single week is the biggest thing. Like, if you have to, records are gonna start getting broken more quickly, and it's gonna be like, wow, this is crazy. Is it the young talent? Like, no, an extra game does matter at the end of the day. It's the biggest thing.
Any other thoughts, real quick?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, if that's it, then we can go ahead and call it a wrap here. Next week we'll be back at the same time as we have consensus picks for the NFL season as a whole. Every single game, we are deciding who we think is going to win, and moving on to our picks for the Super Bowl and some of the major awards if we have the time for that as well. So yeah, get ready for that nonsense soon. Hope you all have a fun evening. I'll go ahead and mute the call a bit as we all give our own goodbyes. But yeah, thank you all for talking with me again. This has been a blast again.
Thanks for hosting, Nate.
I'm great.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for
Uh, all right. Well, oh, hey, my camera. Here we go. Hold on, let me get my camera working soon. There we go, there we go. Oh, you think the Mets are going to win, Brian? Okay. But yeah, that's been the end of the stream, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all have a fantastic time. And yeah, make sure to go ahead and give them all a follow, all those people a follow as well. Let's go ahead and give a shout out for all of them in the stream as well. So again, thank you so much, Glasses, for the raid. Thank you, everybody, for that as well. Sorry it took me so long to actually talk about it. I really... Oh, thank you for getting shot as well. I just really hate interrupting people so much that I nearly choked on some food because I didn't want to bother... Oh, Johnny's number. Because I didn't want to bother anyone with the noise of me choking. Yeah, no, I'm really bad about that. But yeah, it's been a fun stream. Hope everyone has a fantastic evening. And goodbye to you too. Hope you enjoyed this video with one before.